The great crystal towers of Nexus Prime stretched high into the purple sky, their surfaces gleaming in the light of 3 distant suns. Inside the largest tower, the Galactic Trade Council was meeting for the first time in months. Beings from across the galaxy had traveled here to discuss important matters of trade, law, and diplomacy. The council chamber was a marvel of alien engineering. Floating platforms held delegates from dozens of different worlds, looked like giant insects with multiple arms and shining shells. Others appeared as balls of pure energy that glowed and pulsed as they spoke. The crystalline beings sparkled like living diamonds, while plant-like creatures swayed gently in the artificial breeze. At the center of it all sat Ambassador Zethka of the Vortanian Empire. His 4 arms moved gracefully as he called the meeting to order. His purple skin was marked with intricate tattoos that showed his high rank. Behind him, holographic displays showed star maps and trade routes that connected thousands of worlds. "Fellow beings," Zethka announced in his deep, rumbling voice, "we have much to discuss today. But first, we must address the matter of the new species that has requested membership in our council." A murmur of interest rippled through the chamber. New species were always cause for excitement. Some delegates leaned forward on their platforms, curious to see what kind of beings had discovered space travel. "I present to you," Zethka continued, "the representative of the species known as humans, from the planet they call Earth." All eyes turned to the far end of the chamber, where a single figure sat alone on a simple metal chair. Commander Jake. Morrison looked very small compared to the alien delegates around him. He wore a plain blue military uniform with simple rank insignia on his shoulders. His brown hair was cut short, and his face was serious as he nodded politely to the assembly. The other delegates studied him with obvious curiosity. To most of them, Jake looked remarkably ordinary. He had 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 head, which was common enough. His skin was a pale pink color, and he breathed the same oxygen-nitrogen mixture that many species preferred. There was nothing particularly impressive about his appearance. Counselor Flux of the Silicon Collective was the first to speak.
Else?
His body was made of living metal that shifted and changed as he moved. "We have studied this species extensively," he announced in a voice like grinding gears. "Our analysis shows that they are remarkably primitive in almost every way." Jake's jaw tightened slightly, but he remained silent. He had expected this kind of reception. Earth's government had prepared him for the possibility that humans would not be taken seriously by the galactic community. "Please, share your findings with the Council," Zethka requested. Flux activated a holographic display that showed Earth from space. The blue and green planet looked beautiful, but unremarkable compared to some of the more exotic worlds in the galaxy. As you can see, this species inhabits a single world with no colonies or space stations. Their technology is severely limited. The display changed to show human spacecraft in orbit around Earth. The ships looked crude and angular compared to the sleek vessels used by most galactic civilizations. They were clearly built for function, rather than beauty, with obvious armor plating and visible weapon systems. Their ships use chemical rockets for propulsion. Flux continued with what sounded like amusement. "They have no understanding of quantum drives or dimensional folding. A journey that takes us hours requires weeks for them to complete." Several delegates chuckled at this information. The insect-like beings of the hive worlds clicked their mandibles in what Jake recognized as laughter. Even the peaceful plant creatures of the Botanical Federation rustled their leaves in apparent mirth. The display showed human weapons next. The guns and missiles looked primitive compared to the energy weapons and exotic matter disruptors used by advanced civilizations. "Their weapons fire simple metal projectiles," Flux explained. "They have no plasma cannons, no antimatter warheads, no quantum disruptors. They literally throw pieces of metal at their enemies." This statement caused even more laughter throughout the chamber. Some delegates had to steady themselves on their floating platforms as they reacted to what they considered the absurdity of human military technology. Furthermore, Flux continued, "They have no psychic abilities whatsoever. They cannot communicate telepathically, manipulate matter with their minds, or even sense the presence of other beings. They rely entirely on crude electronic devices for communication. Ambassador Veltar of the Energy Collective pulsed with bright light as she spoke. Are you certain they have achieved true spaceflight? Perhaps they simply built larger versions of their chemical rockets? Our observations confirm that they have managed to travel between star systems, Flux replied. However, their fastest ships require months to complete journeys that our vessels finish in days. They appear to have developed space travel through brute force rather than scientific elegance. The plant-like delegate from the Botanical Federation spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. Have they shown any signs of advanced agriculture or biological engineering? Perhaps they excel in areas we have not yet examined? Jake felt his face grow warm as the discussion continued. Every aspect of human civilization was being analyzed and found wanting. He had known that humans were behind other species in many areas, but hearing it laid out so clinically was more difficult than he had expected. Their agriculture is surprisingly inefficient, reported another delegate. They grow food in soil, rather than using hydroponic systems or molecular assemblers. They also consume the flesh of other animals rather than synthesizing proteins directly. This revelation caused a stir among the more civilized species. Many galactic civilizations had moved beyond such primitive practices millions of years ago. Zethka raised one of his 4 hands for silence. Thank you for your thorough analysis, he said to Flux. Now, let us hear from the human representative himself. Commander Morrison, please tell us what your species hopes to gain from membership in our council. Jake stood up slowly, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him. He had practiced this speech many times during the long journey to Nexus Prime. But actually delivering it to this assembly was more intimidating than he had imagined. Honored delegates, he began in a clear, steady voice. Humanity comes before you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as fellow travelers among the stars. We seek only the basic rights of galactic citizenship, safe passage through neutral space lanes, fair trading opportunities, and the chance to prove ourselves worthy of your respect. His words were translated instantly into dozens of alien languages by the Council's communication system. Jake could see some delegates nodding politely, while others seemed barely interested in what he had to say. We understand that we are new to galactic civilization, Jake continued. We know that our technology may seem primitive to those who have mastered the secrets of the universe. But we hope that you will judge us not by what we lack, but by what we might contribute. And what exactly do you think you can contribute? Asked a delegate whose body appeared to be made of living crystal. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your military capabilities are laughable. Your science is in its infancy. What could humanity possibly offer to advanced civilizations like ours? Jake met the crystal being's gaze without flinching. We offer ourselves, he said simply. Our willingness to work, to learn, and to stand beside you when times are difficult. We may not have the most advanced weapons or the fastest ships, but we have something that may be of value. We never give up. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Several delegates exchanged glances that Jake couldn't interpret. Finally, Zethka spoke again. The Council will now vote on humanity's application for basic galactic citizenship, he announced. In favor of granting humans the lowest tier of membership, with restricted access to designated trade routes only. Jake watched as indicator lights appeared above each delegate's platform. One by one, they began to glow green, indicating agreement. Within minutes, the vote was complete. It was unanimous. Congratulations, Commander Morrison, Zethka said, with what might have been sympathy. Humanity has been granted basic galactic citizenship. You will be provided with maps of approved trade routes and a list of species willing to engage in commerce with your people. As the formal session ended, several delegates approached Jake with offers of assistance. Most spoke to him as if he were a child who needed guidance and protection. They offered to share basic technologies, provide cultural education, and help humans understand proper galactic etiquette. Jake declined their offers politely but firmly. Thank you for your generosity, he told them, but humans prefer to earn our place through our own efforts. We will prove our worth through actions, not charity. The alien delegates exchanged more glances, some amused and others concerned by Jake's response. As he gathered his belongings and prepared to leave, Jake could hear them discussing humans in voices they thought he couldn't understand. Such pride in such a primitive species, one commented. They will learn humility when they face the realities of galactic life, another replied. 3 weeks had passed since the meeting on Nexus Prime. Jake Morrison was halfway back to Earth when the first reports began to arrive. Pirates were attacking ships in the Outer Rim territories with unusual boldness. These were not the small-time raiders that occasionally bothered isolated cargo ships. This was something much more dangerous. The Bloodclaw raiders had been growing stronger for months, but now they were moving openly against major trade routes. Their leader, Captain Grimtor, commanded a fleet of stolen military vessels crewed by criminals from a dozen different species. Intelligence reports suggested they had backing from someone with serious money and connections. Captain Lisa Turner was delivering basic supplies to the mining colony on Kepler 7 when she first heard about the attacks. Her ship, the New Horizon, was one of the newer human cargo vessels, but it still looked primitive compared to most galactic shipping. The hull was thick steel painted gray, with obvious armor plating around vital systems. Her crew of 12 humans had been making runs to the outer colonies for almost a year. Lisa was reviewing cargo. It manifests in her small cabin when her communications officer knocked on the door. Pete Collins was a young man from Texas who had joined the merchant fleet to see the galaxy. His face was pale as he handed her a datapad. "Captain, you need to see this," Pete said. "We just picked up a distress signal from the Centaurian convoy. That passed us yesterday." Lisa read the report quickly. The convoy had been carrying rare crystals from the mining worlds to the core systems. 3 cargo ships and 2 escort vessels had been jumped by the Bloodclaw raiders in the Vega system. The escorts were disabled in the first attack, and the pirates were boarding the cargo ships. "How far are we from their position?" Lisa asked. Pete swallowed hard. "About 2 hours at maximum burn, Captain. But those pirates have military-grade ships. We wouldn't stand a chance against them." Lisa stood up and walked to the small window. In her cabin, outside, stars streaked past as the New Horizon traveled through hyperspace. She had served in the Earth Defense Force before joining the merchant fleet. She knew what those Centaurian traders were facing right now. "Set course for the Vega system," she ordered, and called the crew to battle stations. Captain Pete protested. "We only have railguns and a few missile pods. Those pirates will tear us apart." Lisa looked at him with steel in her eyes. "Pete, those people are going to die if nobody helps them. We might not have the best weapons, but we have something more important." "What's that, Captain?" "We're human." The New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system. Lisa's crew quickly located the attacked convoy using their sensors. The Centaurian ships were drifting helplessly while 6 pirate vessels surrounded them.
Ow.
The pirates had already begun transferring cargo to their own ships. On the bridge of the pirate flagship Bloodfang, Captain Grimtor was supervising the raid. He was a massive creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, with scarred hide and cybernetic implants replacing parts of his body that had been lost in previous battles. His crew was made up of the worst criminals the galaxy had to offer. "Captain," called his sensor operator. "We have another ship approaching. Looks like a human cargo vessel." Grimtor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Humans? What do they think they can do with their primitive ships? It's probably hoping to salvage something from the wreckage." He opened a communication channel to the approaching human ship. "Human vessel, this is Captain Grimtor of the Bloodclaw Raiders. Turn around now, or join these merchants in death." Lisa Turner's voice came back, calm and steady. "This is Captain Turner of the New Horizon. Release those ships immediately and surrender, or we will be forced to take action." The entire pirate bridge erupted in laughter. The idea that a single human cargo ship would threaten an entire raider fleet was the funniest thing they had heard in months. Human Grimdor replied when he could speak again. "You have 30 seconds to run before we add your ship to our collection." "Understood," Lisa said. "We'll be there in 20 seconds. The pirates were still laughing when their sensors detected something impossible. The human ship was accelerating directly toward them at maximum velocity. Instead of trying to maintain a safe distance for long-range combat, it was charging straight into the middle of their formation. "What are they doing?" Grimtor demanded. "Are they trying to ram us?" His weapons officer checked the readings twice. "Captain, they're not slowing down." Their engines are at maximum burn, and they're on a collision course with the Bloodfang. All ships, open fire, Grimtor roared. Destroy that insane human before he crashes into us. The pirate fleet unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts and energy beams at the approaching human ship. The New Horizons' shields flared as the weapons struck, but the ship kept coming. Lisa had diverted all available power to the forward shields, sacrificing protection everywhere else. For maximum defense in front, the pirates expected their advanced energy weapons to tear through the human ship's primitive defenses. Instead, they watched in growing alarm as their shots were absorbed or deflected by shield systems they didn't understand. Human shield technology was different from what they had encountered before. It was designed to stop physical projectiles, not energy weapons. But it was incredibly robust. The New Horizon reached point-blank range before anyone realized what was about to happen. Lisa Turner had learned her tactics from studying Earth's naval history, where ships closed to short range. For maximum effectiveness, at a distance of less than 1 kilometer, her railguns opened fire. The difference between energy weapons and kinetic weapons became devastatingly clear. The pirates' shields were designed to disperse plasma bolts and laser beams across their entire surface. They had no defense against chunks of dense metal traveling at incredible velocity. The first railgun shots punched through the pirate shields like they weren't there. Solid tungsten projectiles, each weighing several kilograms, struck the enemy. Ships with the force of small meteors. The pirates' elegant armor plating, designed to resist energy weapons, crumpled like paper under the kinetic impact. Impossible, Grimtor screamed as his ship shuddered under the assault. Their weapons are primitive. How are they penetrating our shields? The science officer was frantically checking the readings. Captain, their weapons don't use energy at all? They're firing solid projectiles at tremendous velocity. Our shields can't stop them. The New Horizon swept through the pirate formation like an angry wasp, its railguns firing continuously. Lisa's crew had trained for this kind of close-range combat, and they executed their attack with deadly precision. Each shot was carefully aimed at vital systems, engines, weapons, life support. The pirate ship Razorclaw tried to turn away from the human vessel, but it was too late. A railgun shot struck its main engine, and the ship began spinning out of control. Another pirate vessel, the Dark Star, attempted to ram the New Horizon. But Lisa's pilot expertly avoided the collision while raking the enemy ship with gunfire. Within 5 minutes of entering the battle, 3 pirate ships were destroyed and 2 others were badly damaged. The remaining vessel, a converted freighter called the Scavenger, tried to flee the system at maximum speed. Let them go, Lisa ordered as her crew prepared to pursue. We need to help the survivors. The Centaurian merchants were amazed as the human ship approached their damaged convoy. They had never seen anything like the attack they had just witnessed. Pirates' superior technology had been completely useless against the human tactics. Captain Velthera of the Centaurian vessel Golden Star contacted the New Horizon directly. Human ship, this is Captain Velthera. Cannot thank you enough for your assistance. How did you manage to defeat them so easily? Lisa smiled as she looked out at the drifting wreckage of the pirate ships. We didn't have better technology. Captain, we just had a better understanding of how to use what we had. The rescue operation took several hours. Lisa's crew helped repair the damaged Centaurian ships and provided medical aid to the wounded. The human ship's basic medical facilities were crude compared to advanced galactic standards. But the human medics worked with skill and determination that impressed their alien patients. As the convoy prepared to continue its journey, Captain Velthara made a personal request to Lisa. Captain Turner, would you be willing to accompany us to our destination? After what happened here, other pirates may attempt to attack us. Lisa shook her head. I'm sorry, Captain, but we have our own schedule to keep. Besides, word of this. Fight will spread quickly. I don't think you'll have any more trouble from pirates for a while. She was right. Within hours, reports of the battle were spreading through the pirate networks. The Bloodclaw raiders had lost half their fleet to a single human cargo ship. Other criminal organizations began to reconsider their plans for attacking ships in areas where humans might be present. The New Horizon completed its delivery to Kepler-7 without further incident. Lisa Turner filed a routine report with Earth Defense Command and went on to her next assignment. As far as she was concerned, helping fellow spacers was just part of the job. But throughout the galaxy, military analysts were studying the battle recordings with growing interest. The human tactics were unlike anything they had seen before. The news of Captain Lisa Turner's victory over the Bloodclaw Raiders spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, every major news network was reporting the story, though many treated it as an interesting curiosity rather than serious military news. The general reaction was that the pirates must have been caught off guard or had some kind of equipment failure. On the crystal world of Altair Prime, Silicon Collective's military analysts reviewed the battle recordings. With growing confusion, they ran computer simulations dozens of times, but the results always came out the same. According to their calculations, the human ship should have been destroyed within seconds of entering combat. There must be an error in the data, insisted Chief Analyst Quantum 7, his metallic form shifting through various configurations as he processed the information. Energy shields cannot be penetrated by primitive kinetic weapons. It violates the basic principles of defensive technology. His assistant, a younger silicon being called Logic Prime, displayed the sensor readings on a holographic screen. Data has been verified by multiple independent sources, sir. The human weapons did penetrate the pirates' shields and caused devastating damage. Quantum 7 studied the readings again. Perhaps the pirates had defective equipment, or maybe their shields were already damaged from a previous battle. The recordings show their shields were functioning normally before the human attack, sir. The energy readings are consistent with military-grade defensive systems. On the homeworld of the Botanical Federation, the plant-like beings were having their own discussions about the incident. They had always been a peaceful species, but they understood the importance of being able to defend themselves when necessary. The idea that their own defensive systems might be vulnerable to human weapons was troubling. Counselor Willowbark rustled her leaves thoughtfully as she spoke to the Defense Committee. Perhaps we should invite human military advisors to review our security arrangements. If their weapons can defeat pirate shields so easily, we need to understand how to defend against them. But they are such a primitive species, objected Counselor Thornbush. What could they teach us about defense that we do not already know? They taught the Bloodclaw Raiders something, Willowbark replied quietly. Half their fleet is now space debris. 2 weeks after the New Horizon incident, another human ship found itself in a similar situation. Captain Ben Rodriguez of the cargo vessel Iron Will was delivering mining equipment to a research station operated by the Botanical Federation when the Shadow Maw Consortium launched their attack. The research station was studying plant life on a remote world when 6 pirate ships appeared without warning. The station had no military defenses, only a small security force equipped with basic weapons. The pirates quickly disabled the station's communications array and began demanding surrender. This time, however, galactic news drones were in the system recording the attack for a documentary about frontier research. When the Iron Will arrived in response to the distress call, cameras were already recording everything that happened. Captain Rodriguez was a former Marine who had served in Earth's colonial wars before joining the merchant fleet. His ship was older than the New Horizon, with heavier armor and more powerful engines. The crew of 15 humans had been working together for 3 years and knew each other's capabilities perfectly. Captain called his sensor operator, Sergeant Maria Santos. We have 6 hostile ships surrounding the research station. They're armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Ben studied the tactical display. The pirates had positioned themselves in a defensive formation around the station, using it as a shield against long-range attacks. It was a smart strategy that would force any rescue attempt to risk damaging the facility they were trying to save time for some old-fashioned marine tactics, Ben said with a grim smile. All hands to battle stations. We're going in hard and fast. The Iron will accelerate it toward the pirate formation at maximum velocity, just as the New Horizon had done 2 weeks earlier. The pirates had learned about the previous battle and were ready for the human tactics. They concentrated their fire on the approaching ship, determined not to let another human vessel reach close range. The Iron Will's shields flared as plasma bolts and quantum torpedoes struck the hull. Ben had reinforced his forward defenses even more than Lisa Turner had, but the concentrated enemy fire was taking its toll. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems began to fail under the assault. "Hull breach on Deck 3, reported Chief Engineer Tom Walsh over the communication system. "We're losing atmosphere in the cargo bay. Keep us moving, Tom," Ben replied. "We just need to get close enough to hurt them." The watching galaxy held its breath as the battered human ship pushed through the enemy fire. Military experts had predicted that the Iron Will would be destroyed before reaching effective range. The pirate weapons were simply too advanced for a primitive human vessel to survive. They were wrong again. The Iron Will reached point-blank range with two of its railguns still functioning. Ben's crew opened fire with the same devastating effectiveness that had shocked the Bloodclaw raiders. Tungsten projectiles punched through the pirates' shields and tore into their hull plating. But this time, pirates were ready for the kinetic weapons. They had reinforced their armor and adjusted their shield configurations to better resist physical impacts. The human attack was still effective, but not as overwhelmingly successful as before. "They've learned," Ben observed as his weapons struck. "Hardened armor instead of soft hull plating. These pirates are smarter than the last bunch." The battle became a grinding slugfest as both sides adapted to each other's tactics. The pirates tried to maintain distance while the humans closed for maximum effectiveness. Ships on both sides took heavy damage as the fight continued. Then something happened that changed everything. A lucky shot from a pirate quantum torpedo struck the Iron Will's main engine, causing a massive explosion that tore through the ship's stern. The human vessel began tumbling out of control, its hull cracked open and atmosphere streaming into space. The pirates moved in for the kill, confident that they had finally defeated a human ship. They had learned from the previous battle and adjusted their tactics accordingly. Their victory seemed certain as they closed on the crippled human vessel. Had made a critical error in judgment. They assumed that a damaged human ship was the same as a defeated human ship captain. Rodriguez activated the ship's internal communication system as pirate boarding pods attached to the Iron Will's hull. "All hands, prepare for boarding action. Break out the small arms and body armor. They want to take our ship. They're going to have to come through us first." The pirates who cut through the Iron Will's outer hull expected to find a crew ready to surrender. Instead, they found 15 humans armed with automatic weapons and explosive charges, fighting from prepared positions throughout the ship. Every corridor became a battlefield as the pirates discovered that humans considered their ship to be their fortress. The Galactic News. Drones recorded everything as the battle raged inside the crippled vessel. Viewers across the galaxy watched in amazement as human crew members continued fighting even after suffering serious injuries. When their advanced weapons ran out of ammunition, they switched to backup weapons. When those failed, they used improvised explosives and hand tools. Sergeant Santos, wounded and bleeding, used her engineering knowledge to turn the ship's own systems into weapons. She rerouted power conduits to create electrical traps and vented atmosphere from sections to disorient the attackers. Even when cornered in the engine room, she continued to fight with a welding torch and a crowbar. Chief Engineer Walsh barricaded himself in the reactor compartment and threatened to overload the power plant if the pirates didn't withdraw. "You want this ship?" he called over the communication system. "Come and take it. But you'll get it in pieces small enough to fit in a coffee cup." The pirates had never encountered anything like this level of resistance. In their experience, damaged ships surrendered quickly rather than face inevitable destruction. The idea that a crew would continue fighting from a crippled vessel was completely foreign to their understanding of warfare. Captain Rodriguez coordinated the defense from the bridge, which had been turned into a fortress of overturned furniture and improvised barricades. He and his remaining crew held the command center against repeated attacks. Using their knowledge of the ship's layout to set ambushes and create kill zones, When galactic security forces finally arrive, they found a scene that shocked even experienced military officers. The Iron Will was barely holding together, its hull riddled with holes and its systems mostly offline. The human crew was still fighting, still defending their ship against overwhelming odds. The pirates had given up trying to capture the vessel and were attempting to retreat to their own ships. 3 of their boarding pods had been destroyed by human defensive actions, and the survivors were fleeing in panic. Commander Velcater of the Galactic Security Patrol ship. Starlight was a veteran officer who had seen many battles. He had never witnessed anything like the defense of the Iron Will. "How are they still fighting?" he asked his tactical officer. The reports from the Iron Will battle had reached every major government in the galaxy within days. Military leaders studied the footage repeatedly, trying to understand how humans could continue fighting from a crippled ship. The sight of human crew members defending their vessel with improvised weapons had shocked even experienced warriors. On the fortress world of Karthak, the headquarters of the mighty Hegemony fleet, War Commander Thakven called his senior staff to an emergency meeting. The Hegemony had maintained galactic peace for over 1,000 years through superior technology and overwhelming force. They were not accustomed to being surprised by primitive species. Thakven was a massive being, nearly 3 meters tall, with armored skin and multiple eyes that could track several targets at once. His species had evolved from apex predators, but they fought with discipline and advanced tactics rather than raw aggression. The idea that humans might be equally dangerous in their own way was disturbing. "Show me the analysis again," he commanded his intelligence officer. Colonel Vextor. The holographic display showed detailed breakdowns of both human encounters with pirates. Computer models highlighted the effectiveness of kinetic weapons against energy shields and the unusual human willingness to accept heavy casualties while achieving their objectives. "Our scientists confirm that kinetic weapons can penetrate most standard shield configurations," Vextor reported. "The impact velocity and mass of human projectiles creates a penetration effect that energy-based defenses cannot counter effectively." "And their tactical doctrine?" Thakven asked. "Extremely aggressive, sir. Humans close to point-blank range, regardless of defensive fire. They appear to value mission success over crew survival. Our psychologists classify this behavior as borderline suicidal." Thakven studied the reports with growing concern. The Hegemony fleet had never encountered an enemy that would deliberately charge into defensive fire. Most civilized species understood that preserving lives was more important than winning individual battles. "I want to see these humans for myself," he decided. "Prepare the 3rd battle group for a diplomatic mission to human space. We will conduct a formal evaluation of their military capabilities." Admiral Kate Sullivan was reviewing monthly fleet reports at the orbital defense platform New Geneva when the Hegemony delegation arrived. The massive alien warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Their arrival detected immediately by Earth's early warning networks. Kate was a veteran of 30 years in the Earth Defense Force. She had commanded ships during the colonial expansion and knew how to deal with potentially hostile aliens. The arrival of 6 Hegemony battleships was clearly intended as a show of force. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "the Hegemony fleet is requesting permission to approach Earth for diplomatic discussions. Grant them safe passage." "To New Geneva," Kate replied. "But make sure our patrol squadrons are visible. I want them to see that we take security seriously." The Hegemony ships were impressive examples of advanced military technology. Each vessel was over 2 kilometers long, with sleek hulls that seemed to bend light around them. Their weapons were hidden behind adaptive armor that could shift configuration during battle. Energy fields surrounded each ship like halos of contained lightning. War Commander Thakven came aboard New Geneva with a small diplomatic party. His first impression of the human space station was that it looked more like a fortress than a peaceful orbital facility. Thick armor plating covered every surface, and weapon turrets tracked the movement of his shuttle as it approached the docking bay. "Welcome to New Geneva," Admiral Sullivan said as she greeted the alien delegation. "I hope your journey was comfortable." Thakvin studied the human admiral with his multiple eyes. She was smaller than he had expected, but there was something in her manner that reminded him of veteran warriors from his own species. "Thank you for receiving us, Admiral. I have come to learn more about human military capabilities." Kate smiled politely. "Of course, we're always happy to share information with our galactic neighbors. What would you like to know? Your recent encounters with pirates have raised questions about human combat doctrine. My government wishes to understand how your forces achieve such effectiveness despite technological limitations." "I see. Would you like a tour of our facilities? I think you might find our approach to defense interesting." As they walked through the corridors of New Geneva, Thakvin was surprised by the scale of the installation. The space station was much larger than it appeared from the outside, with multiple levels devoted to military operations. Human crew members moved with the efficiency of a well-trained military unit. "How many personnel do you maintain here?" he asked. "About 15,000, Kate replied casually, "plus support staff and rotating patrol crews." Thakvin exchanged glances with his aide. That was the population of a major military base, not a simple orbital platform. The humans had built a significant military installation in their home system. They visited the command center, where massive holographic displays showed the positions of every ship within 10 light-years of Earth. Patrol routes were clearly marked, along with defensive positions and response times. The level of military organization was far more sophisticated than Thakvin had expected. "Impressive," he admitted. "But I understand your ships use primitive technology compared to most galactic militaries." "Our technology serves our purposes," Kate said diplomatically. "We prefer proven, reliable systems over exotic experiments. Perhaps your crews would benefit from training exercises with more advanced forces. My fleet could provide valuable instruction in modern combat techniques." Kate considered the offer carefully. She knew this was really a challenge disguised as assistance. The hegemony wanted to test human capabilities under controlled conditions. "That's very generous," she replied. "What kind of exercise did you have in mind?" "A simple fleet engagement. Your forces against one of my cruiser squadrons. We could establish training protocols to ensure no actual damage is done." "How many ships would you want us to field?" Thakvin had expected the humans to request overwhelming numbers to compensate for their technological disadvantages. "Whatever you feel is appropriate. Perhaps a squadron of your best vessels." Kate smiled. "I think we can arrange something more interesting than that. How about a full fleet exercise? Your entire task force against one of our battle groups." The alien commander was surprised by the suggestion. A full fleet engagement would involve dozens of ships and complex tactical maneuvering. "Are you certain your forces are ready for such an extensive exercise?" "Commander, we've been ready for serious opponents since the day we first left Earth. The question is whether your ships can handle our style of warfare." The challenge was set for the following week in the asteroid field beyond Mars. The location was chosen because it provided natural obstacles and would allow for complex tactical scenarios. Observers from multiple galactic governments were invited to monitor the exercise. Kaven's fleet consisted of 6 modern battleships equipped with the latest hegemony technology. Each vessel mounted plasma cannons capable of destroying asteroids with single shots. Their shields could deflect small moons, and their faster-than-light tactical systems allowed near-instantaneous communication and coordination. Admiral Sullivan's force looked primitive by comparison. 12 human warships took position in the asteroid field, their angular hulls scarred by the wear of regular patrol duty. The ships were clearly built for function rather than elegance, with visible weapon mounts and thick armor plating. "Begin the exercise," announced the neutral referee from the Galactic Observers Corps, Cavan. Immediately ordered his ships to form a defensive line at maximum weapons range. This was standard galactic tactics: maintain distance while using superior firepower to defeat the enemy. His vessels began firing plasma volleys at the human formation. The human response was unlike anything he had ever seen. Instead of forming their own battle line, the human ships scattered in all directions, using the asteroids as cover while closing the distance at maximum velocity. They moved like a pack of predators, coordinating their attacks without apparent Communication. What are they doing? Demanded his tactical officer. They're abandoning all defensive formations. They're hunting, Thakven realized with growing alarm. They're not fighting a fleet battle, they're conducting a pack hunt. The human ships disappeared among the asteroids, their stealth systems making them difficult to track. When they reappeared, it was always at close range, hitting the hegemony vessels with concentrated railgun fire before vanishing again. The aliens' plasma weapons were designed for long-range combat. At close quarters, they were less effective against fast-moving targets. The human ships exploited this weakness ruthlessly, staying too close for the larger weapons to track them effectively. Sir, the humans are using the asteroids as weapons, his science officer reported. They're using controlled explosions to launch rocks at our ships, Thakven watched in amazement as a human. Destroyer used precision charges to turn a small asteroid into a cloud of high-velocity debris. The improvised projectiles overwhelmed his ship's point defense systems and caused significant simulated damage. The news of the hegemony fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Military academies canceled classes so students could study the recordings. Defense ministers called emergency meetings. Intelligence agencies worked around the clock, trying to understand what they had witnessed. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Trade Council held its most important session in centuries. Representatives from every major civilization gathered in the crystal chamber, their usual composure replaced. By obvious concern, the holographic displays showed tactical analyses from the Mars exercise. Each replay more disturbing than the last, Ambassador Zethka called the emergency session to order with trembling hands. Fellow beings, we face a situation that requires immediate attention. The species we dismissed as primitive has demonstrated military capabilities that challenge our understanding of warfare itself. The chamber erupted in worried conversations as delegates tried to process what they had learned. The crystalline beings of the Silicon Collective ran probability calculations that made no sense. The energy-based luminals flickered with uncertainty. Even the peaceful Botanical Federation was requesting military advisors. Perhaps there is a logical explanation, suggested Counselor Flux, though his metallic voice lacked its usual confidence. Maybe the humans were simply lucky, or the hegemony forces were not prepared for such unusual tactics. War Commander Thakven, attending as a special witness, shook his massive head. There was no luck involved. The humans fought with precision and coordination that suggested extensive training. Their tactics were unconventional, but they were not random. But how is this possible? Demanded Ambassador Veltar of the Energy Collective. Our analysis showed that humans have no advanced technology, no psychic abilities, no obvious military advantages. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Amy Chen, the human xenobiologist, studying at the Galactic Science Institute, had requested permission to address the council. As the only human expert on galactic civilization present, her perspective was considered essential. Amy stood at the speaker's podium, looking very small compared to the massive alien delegates around her. She had spent months studying their cultures and understanding their perspectives. Now she had to explain something that might fundamentally change how they viewed her species. "Honored delegates," she began, in a clear, steady voice, "I believe I can help you understand what you have witnessed. The confusion arises from a fundamental difference in how humans and other species approach conflict." She activated a holographic display showing evolutionary charts for various galactic species. Most of your civilizations evolved from prey animals or peaceful plant eaters. Your ancestors survived by avoiding conflict, forming cooperative groups and developing technology to overcome natural predators. The display changed to show Earth's evolutionary history. Humans evolved differently. We descended from persistence. Hunters and pack predators. For millions of years, our ancestors survived by hunting other animals across vast distances. We developed intelligence not to avoid conflict, but to become better at it. Murmurs of unease rippled through the chamber. The idea that an intelligent species could evolve from predators was disturbing to civilizations that had developed peaceful natures over millions of years. "This explains your military tactics," Dr. Chen continued. Humans do not see warfare as a technical exercise or a test of superior technology. We see it as hunting. When human ships charge into weapons fire, they are following instincts that kept our species alive for millions of years. But surely, civilization has changed these. Primitive instincts? Protested Counselor Willowbark of the Botanical Federation. Amy shook her head. Human civilization has channeled these instincts, not eliminated them. We have codes of honor, rules of engagement, and humanitarian principles. But when humans fight, we fight with the intensity of predators whose survival depends on victory. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Ambassador Zethka leaned forward on his platform. Dr. Chen, are you saying that humans are naturally designed for warfare? I am saying that humans are naturally designed to never give up, Amy replied. Whether we are exploring space, solving scientific problems, or defending our ships from pirates, we approach challenges with the same persistence that allowed our ancestors to hunt across continents. Commander Rick Hayes of Earth Defense Command chose that moment to make his entrance into the chamber. He had been monitoring the discussion from orbit and decided it was time to address the council directly. His image appeared on the central holographic display as his ship established communication. "Greetings, Galactic Trade Council," Rick said in a calm, professional voice. "I apologize for interrupting, but I believe there are some misunderstandings that need to be corrected." Ambassador Zethka recognized him as one of the human military officers who had been quietly observing galactic activities for months. "Commander Hayes, please share whatever information you feel is relevant. Dr. Chen has explained why humans fight the way we do," Rick continued. "But I think you misunderstand what you have been observing. The ships that defeated your pirates and outfought the hegemony fleet were not military vessels. They were civilian cargo ships with basic defensive armaments." The statement hit the chamber like a thunderbolt. Delegates exchanged shocked glances as the implications became clear. If civilian human ships could defeat military forces, what could their actual warships accomplish? Furthermore, Rick continued, the tactics you observed were standard civilian self-defense procedures. Human merchant crews receive basic military training as part of their licensing requirements. What impressed you so much was simply ordinary humans doing their jobs. War Commander Thakfen stood up slowly on his platform. "Commander Hayes, are you saying that your actual military forces are more capable than what we have seen?" "I am saying that you have not seen our actual military forces," Rick replied. "Human civilization learned long ago that showing all your capabilities to potential enemies is poor strategy. The ships operating in galactic space are equipped for peaceful trade and basic self-defense." "Then what are your actual capabilities?" demanded Counselor Flux. Rick smiled, though the expression was not entirely friendly. Perhaps a demonstration would be more effective than words. Act. The lights in the council chamber dimmed as external. Sensors detected a massive gravitational disturbance approaching Nexus Prime. Emergency alarms began sounding throughout the station, as if whatever was approaching registered as larger than anything in the existing databases. The disturbance resolved into a ship that defied all expectations, the vessel that emerged. From hyperspace, above the crystal towers, was 1.5 kilometers long, its hull bristling with weapon systems that made the hegemony battleships look like toys. Thick armor plating covered every surface, and energy fields that looked like contained lightning crackled around the massive hull. "May I present the USDF Retribution?" Commander Hayes announced calmly. A standard Earth Defense Force battleship, currently on routine patrol duty. The chamber erupted in chaos as delegates tried to process what they were seeing. The ship above them was larger and more heavily armed than anything in the galactic navies. Its very presence changed the balance of power in local space. "This is impossible," whispered Counselor Flux. "Our intelligence reports showed no ships of this size in human space." "Your intelligence reports showed what we wanted you to see," Rick replied. "Human space is defended by 57 ships of this class, supported by hundreds of smaller vessels. We have been building our defense forces since first contact, because history has taught us that peaceful intentions are not always enough to ensure peace." Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice joined the conversation as she spoke from the Retributions. "Bridge. The Galactic Trade Council restricted humanity to basic citizenship and limited trade routes. We accepted those restrictions because they served our purposes. But we want to be very clear that those limitations exist only because we choose to respect them. Ambassador Zethka found his voice with difficulty. What are you saying, Admiral? I'm saying that humanity appreciates the opportunity to trade and learn from galactic civilization, Kate replied. But we will not be confined or controlled by species who mistake our peaceful nature for weakness. We have demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves and our allies. The massive warship began a slow turn above the station, its weapons tracking. Systems locking onto every ship in the area, not as a threat, but as a demonstration of capability. The message was clear. Humanity could defend itself against any challenge. Commander Hayes addressed the council one final time. Dr. Chen explained why humans fight with such determination. I wanted you to understand that we also prepare for war with the same thoroughness. We hope that such preparations will never be necessary, but they exist. What do you want from us? Asked War Commander Thakvin. Nothing more than what we originally requested, Rick replied. Fair treatment, open trade, and the respect due to any civilization capable of defending itself. We seek partnership, not domination. The Retribution began to withdraw from Nexus's prime space, its demonstration complete. The massive warship. Prepared to jump back into hyperspace, Admiral Sullivan transmitted a final message.